So there's a lot of people freaking out that the super Easter egg of Black Ops 3 is dead. Honestly, the game is dead, but the super Easter egg is not. It was completely missed, and so I feel the need to make a video about it. And even though I've put this in the comment on the Glitching Queens page, I put this on the Gaming Revolutions page, even on Facebook. Black Ops amazing. I've posted this everywhere and everybody keeps missing it, so I'm gonna explain it really quickly. First of all, the cosmic egg was the reference, and it has a shape similar to that one right there. And this book right here that I just showed, those are my notes. That's how I figured out a lot of stuff, even the giant cipher, but I'm trying to slow drip people information so they can catch on. So how do I get started on this? This is a very, very deep conversation, and if you know, you know. If you don't, then it's kind of where everything goes wrong, because I have to explain everything in detail. And everybody wanted a simple answer, but it's not a simple answer. It's very far from it. So that shape that I showed you, that's depicted inside of what's known as the cosmic egg, and that's a real shape. It is something that is known in London, or it's been drawn out a long time ago. This is like back in the 15 to 1600s. So with that shape, you can measure anything. You can measure the distance between the sun and the moon and all the other planets in correlation, blah, 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 blah. If you've been following my YouTube shorts, which nobody really has, except for the Gaming Revolution, he actually acknowledged me in one of his videos, and I'm glad that he did, because he's the only person that did. And then he's decided to go on to, he actually went to the castle of the 17th Earl of Oxford, and I don't even know if that means that he understands the reference himself. So there we go, I set up my phone. So let's get back to it. When Jason Blundell first acknowledged the super Easter egg, he had the YouTuber flip the egg upside down. And that is because the symbol that little thing that I showed you, that little drawing, was actually depicted inside of that egg upside down. It is a very big symbol, and I'm sorry for my stuttering. I do have brain damage, as seen here in the scars, and then it goes into my mustache. There's even some on the back of my head from my face going through a windshield at 45 miles an hour as a pedestrian. That's where the stuttering comes from, but this is knowledge that I've known ahead of time. The Glitching Queen had even referenced the Shadow Man being Nyarlathotep, and I was the first person that acknowledged that many fucking years ago. So there's that point, right? Nyarlathotep comes from the Cthulhu mythos, and the Cthulhu mythos was written by H.P. Lovecraft, and H.P. Lovecraft actually got that idea from Dr. John Dee when he decoded the Egyptian Book of the Dead, and what we now know as the Necronomicon, or in the Black Ops community, it is known as the Kernorium, right? Just this little leather-bound book that will give you all the answers to anything that anybody who reads it needs or wants at the time, or is important to that specific time and place, right? And so, similar to that, it is perception based. So if you know, you know. If you don't, then I'm gonna try to explain it as best as I can. So the cosmic egg, which had that symbol that I showed, which looks like a weird circle with the horns on it, and then a line, and then a line through it, that is known as the cosmic egg, and it is depicted in an egg. And then on the four corners of that egg, you have a triangle, an upside down triangle with a line through it, and then a regular triangle with a line through it. Those are the signs for earth, water, earth, water, fire, and electricity. The four main signatures of God, right? And the reason why I say that is because you can combine those things and you can create anything you want. And earth means metals, it means wood, it means whatever the hell, it means plastic at this day and age. So with that being said, that's Danu, Odin, Thor, and Ra, right? Those are the four main people that you basically you run up and you get your elixirs from in Black Ops 4, right? And everybody missed it. Danu is the mother of Earth. And so that's Mother Earth. Thor is obviously lightning. Ra is obviously, fire. And then Odin is another word for Poseidon, and Poseidon was a god of the sea, which is water. The Queen of England apparently was the last living descendant of Odin, and that's why she had her power. Apparently, quote unquote, that's apparent. I don't know if that's entirely true, but you can look that up. I don't know where I found that, but that to me is just common knowledge. And so for the longest time, I've been writing in this little journal here. I'm scrolling through the pages, and as you can see, I actually have a lot of information in here. Got some stuff in there for book notes and stuff like that. I'm sitting here coming up with my information, and this is an important symbol. So let me give you some backstory. For me, I grew up in Antioch, California, which is about 60 miles east of Alcatraz in the middle of bumfuck nowhere. And all you have is just dead grass and nothing better to do than get in trouble with the law. So as a kid, I moved to Portland, or the Portland area, and there's trees, there's rain, there's all this other stuff. And so I love that. My father became a carpenter after we moved to Oregon, and then I went to school for architecture, construction, and engineering. So I'm not going to sit here and claim to be the best mathematician in the world, or the smartest individual in the world, or the most successful person in the world, because it's very far from true, but I definitely have some common sense. So let's draw it back to the KN-44. The reason why that is so significant is because the pages, when you put all those pieces of those pages together, it's an image, and it looks like the KN-44 inside of a circle, that circle being the summoning key, and then the summoning key is inside of a hypercube or a tesseract. That's a real word for a hypercube. So that is a depiction of something greater than us, something stronger, more valuable, more confusing. K4 and N4, if you put those together, you get KN-44. If you pull them apart, K4 and N4 are mathematical plot points for a hypercube in space and time. So this is already information that we already know. We just have not pieced it together yet for some reason. I don't understand why nobody's understood this. So here's one thing that I know that you guys don't know. If you go on the Giant, right, and you're actually playing in game, you turn on the power box and stuff like that, usually everybody waits to go turn on the last teleporter, which is actually teleporter C. Okay, and it says that on the door that opens up when you purchase it for 2,000 points, right? So you go inside, and then there's a teleporter. Then you go up the stairs, and then there's that catwalk with the broken window where everybody does the high round, strategy where they just jump out the window last second, reroute the zombies, and then go back up to the top of the stairs. If instead of going up there, you go across the original catwalk, the one that has those little power strips or whatever that shoot electricity as a trap, the power trap, you go across there and you go to the trip mines, which are around the corner and in front of the perk machine right there. And then you have a window and a window right in front of the mystery, or not mystery box, the perk machine, and then just a hallway. You're gonna get screwed up in that area regardless. So if you have enough time to look across to Teleporter C to that catwalk area where everybody has their high round strategy. If you look in the upper left hand corner, right about here, right about in that little area, right, you will see very faintly it says 007, which is a direct reference to John Dee. And he is actually a doctor, so it's Dr. John Dee. He's the one who, again, like I said, he translated the Egyptian Book of the Dead into English from Arabic, Greek, and Hebrew. Okay, those are 3 languages, which is why I have this symbol, and there's a specific name for that kind of alphabet, which that alphabet actually has a couple letters that are reused in other alphabets, right? Which is why those circles cross over each other. But also that symbol means the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, right? The one that's kind of like up, over, and then back over. The Treyarch symbol, pretty much. I can't remember what that type of alphabet is called, but I learned that from a Freemason. I kind of was bouncing questions back and forth across to him, and wonderful man, his name is Brett. Anyhow, I started asking him about the Tau, and the word Tau is depicted as a circle with horns on it. And that circle with horns on it is how we got the letter T, right? But Tau is another word for ox. So let's go to the 17th Earl of Oxford. He is widely regarded. They have a whole castle in his name. You can go there and you can see all this other amazing stuff, which actually the gaming revolution did do after I had put something in his comments. And he floated over to my YouTube page and looked at my shorts and saw that I was able to actually pinpoint some of these things. Now, my oven is off with the time. It says 2:18, but it's actually 3:18 in the morning, and my daughter is sleeping. So she's 15 months old now, and I have sole custody of the baby, and so I've been really swamped. I really don't have a whole lot of time to sit there and explain all this stuff or fully give everybody the answers to the giant cipher, which I actually have solved in this journal. I have it solved here in this journal. I'm not lying. So if I open up the first couple pages, I have little printouts of it, the same one. I have it rewritten in here multiple times. And the reason why I rewrote it in there is to make sure that I actually have it properly written out. And I was able to get a couple of hints from AI. AI did not solve it. I did, with a couple of hints. All right. I've posted the first line in my YouTube shorts. I will continue to post more of it later on, but I'm pretty sure you guys already have means of doing that, and I'm pretty sure nobody's actually going to watch this video. So, and even if you guys do, you guys are probably going to be like, oh, AI didn't solve it, AI didn't. I don't care, honestly. If you guys want to do all the hard work yourself, then do it. But if you guys can make things easier, why not? Here, let me give you a little point right here. Where is it? There's a spot on here, and it says 6935. Right here, 935. 935. That should be a direct answer right there. That should have helped you with a lot, right? Here, you guys see these little symbols across the map everywhere. This is actually the Sumerian language. And so not only have we taught ourselves the Sumerian language, but we actually know what it means. Instead of just, okay, we kind of know. We know what it means. We don't know how to speak it, but we know what it means, right? So not only have we taught ourselves the Sumerian language, but we've learned how to decode ciphers, right? Now, this game came out in 2013, just slightly before my father passed away. And after he passed away, I put a lot of time into this game. One of my favorite maps was Zetsubou no Shima, and I'm still trying to figure out the correlation of that map. There's a lot of things that are going on with that, but that is a direct reference to Angkor Wat. I digress, right? So, when you're on Drak, you have the dragons, right? Dragon is short for Draconta, and Draconta is how we got the word Dracula. But really, Draconta is another word for the Nephilim, which are watcher angels. Okay, so the dragons that we're summoning on Drak are watcher angels, okay? And then here we are, running around trying to get the power on, and the power box has a hand on it. We know whose hand that is, but did you guys know that hand is a direct reference to the thief's hand, which is a protective trinket, actually. So I'll let you guys do some more research on the thief's hand for yourself, but you guys have seen it all throughout your life. It's basically the depiction of a hand, and all four tips of the hand are candles. They're on fire, right? And usually you see them with symbols on it. You see it in Halloween, you see it on tattoos. It's misunderstood. And that's the point. John Dee, known as 007, and if you write 007 on a piece of paper, it's supposed to look like a pair of glasses. And the reason why that is because he was known as the Queen's ubiquitous eyes. Now, he was a double spy, right? So he actually went to Egypt to go get this information, the Egyptian Book of the Dead, right? And this information was written by Hermes Trismegistus, the guy who designed the pyramids, the architect of the pyramids. But not only was he the architect of the pyramids, but he designed math, he designed physics, he designed science. He was the creator of 90% of everything that we use today on a daily basis, except for like our television and the internet and blah, 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 blah. So let me rephrase that. He created economics, he created laws, he created physics, science, literally everything that has brought life to this world. So, in conclusion, what I'm trying to say is that the super Easter egg was the knowledge of man and universe, and that's what it's known for. That symbol that I showed. Let me get back to it. This one, take a look at that. That right here, this is our plane of existence. This is this, and this is this, right? And not only that, it is this. And this symbol is a fourth dimensional reference to the Holy Grail, the cup that God drank from, or whatever, from the Bible, right? I digress, right? So everybody's looking for a physical object when it's not a physical object. And that's the whole idea of this super Easter egg. We were given the knowledge of man and universe. So if you combine earth, water, electricity, and fire, you can literally design anything. See? You can design glass, you can do everything. Everything. So not only did Jason Blundell give us the knowledge of man and universe, but you guys all missed it. It is the super Easter egg. The super Easter egg was his way of giving us information that we can use to teach ourselves. This is called hermetically sealed information, and it comes from Hermes Trismegistus. He's the Egyptian that is depicted as a man with a bird's head. And I don't know why why he's depicted as a man with a bird's head, but he's depicted that way for a very specific reason. There are people in Egyptian mythology that are technically gods that are depicted as a hippopotamus, somebody that's supposed to, weigh your heart against your actions through death, right? They have very specific reasons of why they depicted bird heads on people. There's even one with, I think it was a princess had the head of a lion, right? But to get back on point, the letter T comes from what we know as the Tau, or an ox, right? So you see an ox symbol depicted as like a circle with horns on it, and then eventually it just became a straight line with a straight line. That is a T, that is the Tau, right? And so if you've noticed, rather than seeing the Nazi symbol inside of all of the Nazi flags, you see the Iron Cross. And then if you actually pay attention to it, right, see this symbol? There's a T here, a T here, and a T here. And if you flip it upside down, you have a T here, okay? So that is known as the secret, or the key to finding the treasure. So that is the triple Tau, but really the triple Tau has a fourth node to it. And so this is depicted as the Iron Cross instead of the swastika, which actually was a religious symbol prior to it being used for what it is now. The swastika actually had a little bit more significance. It is exactly the same as the yin yang symbol. It is basically sacred geometry. And if you don't know what sacred geometry is, I can show you what it is here on my hand, okay? So you have this little chunk here, this little bone, right, is 2/3 of the next bone, right? So you take from the center point of your bone here, right, that little node there, right, to the tip of your finger. Sorry, my nails are a bit long, so I need to cut them. But you take that little piece right here, it is the exact length of your finger here. And then if you take from here to here, that is the exact length of your wrist, right about there. That is sacred geometry. That is how everything in life is built. And that's what that symbol that I showed you, the key to man and universe, uses. And you can use that to measure the distance between everything, right? And if you put the earth on a piece of paper, and then on top of that you put the moon on top of that, you measure the distance across, you come up with a shape, and that shape has a 51-degree angle edge. That is the exact definition of the pyramids of Giza, and that is how you can measure the rest of the earth. However, that's not the point. The point is that Jason Blundell made this information so that way we would learn this for ourselves, right? And so you're sitting here learning all this stuff, trying to figure this out. I'm sitting here learning all of this stuff, trying to figure it out. And that is the secret to man and universe. You have everything at your fingertips. So Jason Blundell not only taught us the way to survive, but he gave us something to do at play. So us as young children, we're playing this game and we're having fun, but not realizing that Jason Blundell is giving us the means to succeed in the future. That's his way of saying thank you for playing my game. And regardless of whether or not you played it for a long time or short time, everybody played it. And everybody was affected by the situation. Jason Blundell had stretched his arms out, and for over a decade straight, a lot of people have been trying to figure this out. And so this is Jason Blundell of saying that he wants us to succeed as adults. You know, we're playing games now, but he wants us to be successful adults. So, and to prove it, he really just did something small, and it lasted for a big ass blip in time. And so he's made a very significant difference. Same with Hermes Trismegistus. The reason why he encoded that information is because, let's say I have some information here, right? This is a court case, right? So let's say it gets in the hands of the government, okay? The government will go through and they'll suppress information that they don't want out to the public, but it can go easily missed. Things can be easily missed, and that's exactly what this is. John Dee thought he was funny and he loved puns. And it's because anything that could be easily missed, like the 007 looking like a pair of glasses, anything that could be easily missed will be circulated and put back into community. So you have cryptography, you have all of this other stuff that was given to us by Hermes Trismegistus and then passed back down to us from John Dee. And then you have, let's see, the Earl of Oxford. Okay, so a lot of people don't recognize this, the group 935, right? If you do 9 plus 3 plus 5, that's 17. Ox, we've already come up with this. The ox has a tau, right, is a T, right? So Oxford, Ford, T, 40, the number 40, right? You put that together, the 17th Earl of Oxford died in 1740. And who do you think that was? It was Sir Francis Bacon, right? And so the 17th Earl of Oxford, or Sir Francis Bacon, or whatever you want to call him, he was one of the poets and philosophers at the time. And so he came up with a group of people who had actually written a bunch of poetry and then posted it under the surname of William Shakespeare, which is why on my channel it says never before in whatever the fuck, right? If you add math to it, you find a pentagram. And the only thing, if you mathematically plot out if you mathematically apply all of that information to the American alphabet, right? And you start with A being 0 and number 25 being Z, you get 1 through 25. And if you put it in a circle, of course, you can connect the dots with mathematics and draw out the tree of life. The only thing the tree of life does not hit is a perfect pentagram, because there's 25 points. So it is sacred knowledge. It is sacred information. This is the secrets of 369. This is what Tesla was trying to teach us. So not only are we getting this from numerous amount of people, we have the government trying to suppress this information, because back in the day, having this information or knowing mathematics was something that would get somebody killed, or being able to draw out sacred geometry would get people killed. And so it's why it's in a lot of churches and stuff like that. And to prove it, I've done all 5 of my tattoos myself, and I've done this symbol here using sacred geometry, right? So if you take this tattoo from right here and right here is the exact length on either side of the tattoo. I'm staring at the camera, so I'm trying to measure it out, so it's not really working out too well, but that's exactly 1/3 of my arm, right down the center of it. And it says stay creepy, but if you follow it, it's shaped over the veins entirely. So it is sacred geometry, and knowing that information used to be able to get people killed. And so people came up with Gnosticism, which everybody believes to be a race, but it isn't a race, or not a race, a religion. It is not a religion. It is a spiritual mind of thinking that the ideology of God is holding people back. And I won't explain any more of that. I'll let you do your own reading and learning and stuff like that. But Sir Francis Bacon in the past once said that if you want to learn the keys to the universe, you must look at the number 40. That I don't truly understand, especially because he's the 17th Earl of Oxford. And then the number 40 was a direct reference. So John Dee encoded numbers into people's names using that holy or the triple tau situation. So anything significant about those lines, every dot, every line, every cross, you can come up with a number, and that number depicting somebody's name. And so that is why they came up with the symbol that looks like a star, right? And so it's on a little puck thing. It is a 7-pointed star, and you're supposed to be able to use geometry. You're supposed to measure the thickness of that plaque and the names of all these angels and stuff and blah 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 and blah 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 to come up with the answer to these riddles, which were in poetry. So the sacred, or the if I'm trying to iterate this properly without stuttering, the super Easter egg was the knowledge of man and universe, so that way you can find the answers yourself. So, and if I'm wrong, please tell me how.